Right on the grill, pan fry them, they're going to be tender. I've never had javelina or deer aged the way we do it that I couldn't cut it with a fork.
Wow.
And I'm talking a regular dinner fork. I'm not talking anything fancy.
Elk meat the same way. I've cut many a steak from an elk with a fork.
I'm just realizing that knife is ABL, not 3V, so that's not even the best stuff. It's good steel there.
Oh yeah, it's cutting nicely. It's not dragging. Now, if any of you all hunters out there watch Steve Rinella.
Yeah, meat eater.
Yes, the meat eater. This man knows his stuff. If he can go hunt black bears where there's a lot of wild blueberries, and he takes that fat and renders it down, and what does he say the fat tastes like?
Blueberries.
The fat tastes like blueberries, because that is where the nasty flavors are from, or the good flavors, depending on what they're eating. That's why he goes after the bears that are at the blueberry fields up there. And some of these muscles intertwine with each other and they make things a little bit difficult. You just have to pick your spot where you're just going to take it and whack it off like that. Got me down in there.
And that's that silver skin you're pulling off.
Yeah, and you can see here, there is a thorn from him busting through brush and stuff. You need to get that stuff out unless you want to chew on it. I don't know how well you can see that.
You can see pretty good. Thanks to the new iPhone 11.
You got to get that stuff out of there. Sometimes this stuff just does not want to come off. And in some cases, you just have to live with it. But there are some sections that you can get most of that off.
Getting that thorn out right now.
There it is. I mean, we need fiber in our diet, but not that bad. Again, I'm going after a little bit of fat right here. There are, like I said, cases where you're going to lose a little bit of meat. You have to sacrifice a little bit of meat in order to get a better cut overall. Like this right here is going to have to go. You see, here's a little bit of fat right here we need to get rid of. Typically, when I butcher an animal up like this, I don't cut individual steaks at this point because I'm going to vacuum seal the meat. When you vacuum seal and you've got a whole bunch of individual cuts inside the pouch, it lends to having some air pockets in there, which promotes freezer burn. And again, bad tasting meat. So you need to not cut everything up fully when you're doing an initial butcher like this. I wait until I'm ready to take that piece of meat out of the freezer and I'm getting ready to cook it up. Then I cut individual steaks. I cut it into cubes if I'm going to make a stew or something like a little batch of chunk of meat that I could make into, well, let's see, I did chili last week. Cut up some deer meat that I had. I made a fresh chili out of it that came out freaking fantastic. Other than a little bit of tendon right here, that once I cut this up, this chunk here, again, you can cut it up into steaks. You want to cut across the grain, not with the grain. Make little steaks out of it, or you can cut it up into chunks and make a stew or a chili or something like that. At that point, I'll come back in, I'll take this piece off, and I'll take this tendon out because this is also very tough. This boy's got a lot of fat in him.
I wonder why when you do a deer, the smell when you gut it out, that smell disappears after 4 days of being refrigerated.
Really?
Yep.
Yes, it
Wow.
disappears.
That's really cool.
And that's a sign that the enzymes in the meat is doing its job.
Wow.
Breaking down the protein.
See another thorn in there.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of science to how this works. You talk to any chef and he will tell you the science of how the enzymes and the protein chains in meat are and what you have to do to create a tender piece of meat. And it's all because of science. It's nothing to do with, well, I've done this for years, I've learned it this way. No, there's science behind all of this. And if you don't understand science, you better pay attention to what somebody else is doing and learn how he's doing it, and not really questioning why he's doing it. Just pay attention to what he's doing. It's one of the things I learned when I became a medic, is I learned how muscles are. I've learned anatomy. I mean, a good butcher's going to understand anatomy.